Well, we've got big news out of Libya. It would seem as though it's all over for Khalifa Haftar. The would-be military dictator, the next Gaddafi, as it were, is no more. He's not dead, but it seems as though his time in the sun has expired. But I think that's getting a little too deep. The headline here is that the LNA and the GNA, the two opposing factions in Libya, who have been at war for many years now, have just declared a ceasefire, and they intend to hold joint elections next March. Now, currently, these two opposing factions have their own parliaments and their own governments and things, and they intend to hold a new election to, inaugurate one unified government for the whole country. Now, in my view, this represents, or this is, well, I don't know if this in and of itself is a loss for Haftar, but this is the result of Haftar's defeat, and in turn cements his direction towards, the path to irrelevancy. You see, strongmen military dictators have a certain appeal, and that appeal is that they win, that they can defend you. Franco is a good example of this. And I guess you could say so was Gaddafi. These were people who, whenever they picked a fight, they won, at least, 90% of the time. They had an air of victory about them. There was this idea that, well, if you're on their side, you're on the winning side. And also, in turn, that, well, if you're on the winning side, then you're safe. You're not on the wrong end of somebody's rifle. But when a perceived strongman starts to incur losses, when people start to notice a few chinks in the armor, when he no longer has that air of invisibility, that's when, it all comes crashing down, and he loses his significance in society, and therefore his legitimacy as a strong man. I mean, by definition, if you don't look strong, you can't be a strong man. And I think that's what's happened to Khalifa Haftar. He took a big gamble in April of 2019 when he began the siege of Tripoli. And, at the time I was thinking, wow, Haftar's been pretty unstoppable so far. I mean, and now he's going after Tripoli. It looks like we're going to be close to, I guess, a new Libya unified under a military dictator. But boy, could that not have been further from the truth. Haftar's assault stalled out on the outskirts of Tripoli, and he kept it up for like a year. He tried hard, many times, to breach the city, and simply couldn't do it. And so over the course of the past year, well, actually more, because the assault began in April of 2019. Haftar has slowly lost legitimacy. He's lost that air of victory. The man who had won so many battles and appeared to be this, this winner, all of a sudden was losing. And of course he saw that, so he didn't want to give up. He didn't want to retreat from Tripoli. So he kept trying, and he kept trying, and he kept trying. And every time he tried and failed, his position only looked worse. He only appeared weaker, until the point now that he really, is being rendered a non-entity. This whole ceasefire between the two sides, the agreement to hold joint elections, publicly, Haftar has had nothing to do with this. Haftar's office did not make a statement. This was the actual, parliament in Benghazi. I believe it's Benghazi, which previously people had just sort of seen as a rubber stamp thing that would eventually take over when Haftar conquered the whole country and be his sort of puppet legislature. Well, now it appears that legislature, that parliament, is calling the shots. They are the ones who announced, along with the Tripoli government, that they're going to be holding these elections, that the war is pretty much over. They're not calling it a treaty yet because they don't have a treaty, but they have a ceasefire that they intend to last forever. And therefore, if there's no more fighting, Haftar doesn't have any more chances to redeem himself. Haftar fought, and he lost. And now the war is over. And so I don't know what he's going to do from now on. One winner I can pick out of this whole situation, though, would definitely be old Erdogan of Turkey. Turkey sent in a bunch of troops to assist the Tripoli government when Haftar was knocking on their door. And I thought this seemed like a suicide mission because, well, first of all, not all of these troops were actually Turkish. A lot of them were Syrian refugees that Erdogan just kind of unloaded into Tripoli. And at that point, I mean, if you looked at a map of the country, Haftar's forces controlled most of Libya. It was just Tripoli holding out, and Erdogan's going to go, dump some more rats onto the sinking ship. It didn't make sense to me at the time. But Erdogan's forces were able to reinforce Tripoli enough to where Haftar never could take the city. And in fact, back in June, the Tripolitanians, I guess you could call them, although that's kind of an archaic term, I think, at this point, Tripolitanians, but we'll roll with it, along with the Turks, or at least the Turkish-backed Syrians. They were able to go on the offensive and completely push Haftar out of the city and out of, a lot of the surrounding area. And so at that point, his partners back in Benghazi probably realized that, Haftar's time was up, that they would have to make a deal on their own with Tripoli if the fighting was ever going to come to an end. They were not going to be able to end the fighting, by force through a total victory. And of course, now that Haftar had, was on the retreat, they were not going to be able to get Tripoli to surrender under any conditions. So that, it would seem, is what brought us to today. Libya, I would not say, is on the path to peace and recovery just yet. I think we're still a long way away from that. We're a long way away from Libya being able to begin rebuilding after what was done to them by Obama and Hillary Clinton and and the French and everybody else who helped destabilize their country way back 9 years ago in 2011. Yes, it's been that long that Libya's been at war. But this is at least a step in the right direction. I think that there will be plenty of opportunities for this whole project to go off the rails again. I think that we're not at the point to where people are above killing each other over political disagreements. I think that after this next election, depending on what actions the new government takes, we could see a resumption of hostilities, and perhaps, Haftar will come back on the scene. But for now, we're just going to have to wait and see. So with that said, if you get anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.